Welcome back. You're watching Nation Tonight. Will it be Trump versus Biden once again? Well, at least that's how it seems so far. And now with the US Supreme Court's unanimous decision on Trump staying on the ballots, the race to the White House has become super interesting on Super Tuesday. That's today for us here in India and a few hours from now for Americans. Let's quickly tell you what Super Tuesday is all about and what's at stake. For voters across 15 states and one union territory of the United States, it's a chance to influence the direction of their party's nomination process and get the final candidates from both the parties for the final presidential battle eventually. Donald Trump, the Republican Party's frontrunner, has already secured 244 delegates. That number is not enough to clinch the nomination on Super Tuesday. Many predict that Trump might move towards the 1,215 threshold that's needed. Nikki Haley, his close competitor, has 43 right now. President Joe Biden, meanwhile, has 206 delegates and is working towards his magic number of 1,968 delegates to get the nomination. Now, Biden's journey towards the nomination is marked by strategic delegate accumulation. He is likely to wrap it up by late March. Republicans have 2,429 total delegates in this nomination contest. The Democrats have 1,420 delegates at play. While Trump faces a lot of criticism from Americans, remember Biden is facing a significantly high rebellion within his own party, with over 50% of the Democrats hoping for him to be replaced by Michelle Obama. Will that happen? And which direction is the US presidential race really heading to? Let's talk more about it on the broadcast. I'm joined by Ambassador Pradeep Kapur. He's an international strategic advisor. He's joining us from Washington, D.C. I'm also joined by Patikrit Pain. He's a geopolitical analyst. Good evening. Namaskar to the both of you. Ambassador Kapur, let me start with you. Lots happening in the United States there where you are. Super Tuesday is now here. Super Tuesday means a super battle, and largely between Donald Trump and Joe Biden is what many observers like yourselves have also said. How is it really moving there? What's the latest there happening?
Thank you, Shreya, for hosting this discussion. It's a very important discussion for US. There's a lot of excitement, but it's also a very important discussion for India and for the world because of the impact which US has on the global scenario, on US-India relations, and on many other aspects. So there is a lot of excitement. And there are a lot of positive feelings also and negative feelings also about Trump getting this unanimous Supreme Court backing to be able to go ahead and stand for elections in the ballot without any further hindrances now. So in a way that while the cases will go on and be irritants, there won't be major disruptions now for him. So he will be able to focus in a positive manner towards the content and the issues of the election rather than getting distracted by appearing in different courts all the time and having to cough up huge amounts of money, more than $500 million for fines and penalties and fees and dues. So to that extent, it makes his path very clear. And the current polling suggests that he is leading in the polls with Biden, and that while the lead is currently not very significant statistically, but it is increasing. And on the other hand, Nikki Haley, who has been in the battle till now, the general understanding in the US is that today will be the day that she announces her dropping off from the race because she has not booked for any ads beyond today on her elections, on a campaign. So plus, while the funding continues, because she's getting funding from the liberals on the Republican side, as well as a lot of liberals who are independent or Democrats. So she continues to draw funding from across the board. But that also will taper off. Some of the biggest PACs have decided to stop the tap completely for Nikki Haley now. So it's going to dry up very soon. US is a very transactional society. So once the, funders realize that there is
that's
no
what we thought,
potential.
Ambassador Kapur, that she would actually withdraw. Last time around, she lost to Trump, but she did not. She continued there. And in fact, she did win one of the primaries as well, and perhaps that's what given her the boost as well. But Patikrit, lots of issues at stake, and lots of people actually also believe that, as compared to Biden, Trump would be able to handle the issues of economy and China much better than President Joe Biden. Do you resonate with that? What do you think would be actually the outcome of this Super Tuesday?
Good evening, Shreya, and good evening, Ambassador Kapur. See, I think more or less it's a foregone conclusion that it is a formality. Trump is going to be the Republican nominee for the presidential election due, late this year or early next year. So, frankly speaking, yes, you are right. Elections, especially the elections in a democracy, are all a matter of perception. And so far as United States is concerned, I think there is generally a consensus or a perception about this that Trump, had a lot of issues with reputation. There are criminal cases going on, but so far as stability of United States is concerned, so far as certain issues of foreign policy is concerned, I think Trump, the era of Trump might have been far better than what Biden promised. Let me tell you a couple of issues. Today United States is going through an inflection point. An inflection point in the sense that it is an era where they would have to learn to live with other major powerhouses. They cannot dictate the terms anymore. Now, against that kind of a backdrop, if you see a series of faux pas that Biden administration did for whatever reason, or maybe under compulsion in the last 4 years, including the hurried withdrawal from Afghanistan, which did not do well so far as the public relation or perception of America is concerned, or the Ukraine war, which today they're finding it difficult to sustain, or what is happening in Middle East, which this generation, when they're seeing in YouTube and TikTok, they may not support, Biden for whatever they're seeing. United States may have strategic imperative to support Israel, but the perception about the young voters I'm talking about. Then you talk about the issue of illegal immigration, which has today, completely gone out of control. There are 12 states, hundreds of cities, which are sanctuary cities, where you cannot even prosecute somebody, even with a criminal record who has crossed over the border. And today, there are photographs in cities or places like San Francisco, where even within the police station, illegal immigrants are residing. Now, from the perspective of an average,
Of course, immigration has
tax-paying
snowballed into a major issue, but Pathikrit, to the point of what you said, that the US has to understand that it has to live with other emerging and established powers around the world as well. But the fact of the matter is, Pathikrit, whether you see the Russia-Ukraine war or the Israel-Hamas war or even the US withdrawing from Afghanistan, they have played a dominant role in one, that situation arising, and two, leading it towards into a certain direction. The US has been a key player in these situations.
No, see, there are two things. Today, United States is almost, may have barely, avoided getting into a recession, but their economy is not in the best of the conditions. 3 banks last year collapsed. Their interest rate, which has been hiked by several hundred percentage, is a very big challenge for new organizations or startups to start business. So far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, they had projected and thought that this would be the end of Putin. It did not happen. Putin, Russia, everything said and done, had its own setbacks, but Ukraine is no more winning the war. They made Ukraine fight a proxy war on behalf of United States and the rest. Today, Ukraine is begging for arms, and Americans are saying, look, we are more busy with Middle East. Middle East, I'm a strong supporter of Israel as an Indian, but the outcome of the war in Middle East, or the conflict, which is taking a regional shape, is US today in a position to sustain a long-drawn conflict between Iran and other major forces? Well, there are question marks because there are challenges so far as the economy is concerned. So I think Trump has been far more pragmatic in terms of communicating to the voters that he would make United States internally far more stable, far more safe. There are cities which are going up the fire. They are not being able to control the large rise in crimes. Not that US has been a very safe city, but there are issues going on. Now, for the average American, Shreya, it's just about what are you doing with the economy? What are you doing with the internal security? Economy is getting battered for many issues, but also because it is being compelled to sustain a lot of wars which today is becoming unsustainable. So frankly speaking, United States, everything said and done, has not been able to,
Okay.
steer the outcome in a direction which they had wanted. Back to you.
Ambassador Kapur, one of the major issues that Pathikrit also mentioned, and we are seeing the ripple effects of which around the world, is the issue of immigration. And it has a very strong sentiment, both pro and against. You have, people bifurcated on this across the world. Europe is seeing a very strong sentiment against immigrants. That is also largely perhaps felt in America as well. And Trump has been quite vocal in the past few years. In the past, when he was campaign, then when he became the president, all of these years he's been very vocal about it. How is that playing out really in America, the issue of immigration? Perhaps because the common person on ground perhaps will not understand the nitty-gritties of how the economy will play out or how the economy will do, but immigration is something that you see in front of you, that your resources are being used, that there are certain situations that are arising due to an influx of immigrants. All of that into play, how is that really being taken up by Americans there?
Immigration is a very core issue and a very important issue for most Americans. When I go out to the market now, I see a lot of immigrants who are doing odd jobs and they don't speak any English. They speak primarily in Spanish or other languages. And they are, draining a lot from the economy because a lot of states are giving them as social security or as stipend, a lot of money per month. So a lot of Americans are asking that if we had to work for 30 years to get this much amount of pension or social security, and a similar amount is now being given to a person who has just come in yesterday or last week or last month from abroad and who has no right to existence in this country as a citizen or right to that bucket. So that is a very emotional issue. The prices of groceries have gone up. The price of living have gone up. The insecurity has gone up. The amount of thefts has gone up. Not necessarily due to immigration, but also due to lax state policy. Some states, for example, do not prosecute anybody up to $1,000 of theft from any store. You can just walk away. So all those issues are very important, but it touches to the core, a very important issue. And the Congress and the Senate have not been able to pass the immigration bill in a significant way because it has been held up in the Congress. And Trump sort of asked for it to be held up so that it wouldn't give any brownie points to the Biden administration.
So that remains, of course, a major issue, Ambassador Kapur. But quickly, I have paucity of time. I think between the three of us, we do understand that it's been a good relationship when it comes to India for the United States, whether it was during Trump's time or during Biden's time. Yes, during Trump's time, perhaps we saw a lot more strengthening of relationship than we're seeing. But the US has recognized that India is a key player when we have to talk about the global geopolitics. But quickly, Ambassador Kapur, let me also ask you then, what's really the sentiment when we talk about Michelle Obama? Her name keeps popping up. Eventually, what are we seeing? What do we see there? She has been denying that she will not be coming up, but her name does pop up now and then.
So there is a theory going around in Washington, D.C. that, Biden, after he clears the initial hurdles and gets to the delegate strength, just before the elections, he may announce that he is not standing for the elections. At that stage, there'll be a scramble amongst the Democrats to find a replacement for him. So one of the names which pops up is Michelle Obama in that case. But that is all very much uncertain currently. There is no clarity on what is going to happen in the days ahead. The only thing we know is that his age has become a very important factor. For Democrats also, a majority are now saying that it's a very significant issue for them. And for Republicans, of course, it's an overriding issue. The other aspect which I want to mention here, Shreya, is the impact of the Indian diaspora. The Indian origin people play a very important role in elections in the sense that some of the huge amounts of funding are given by Indian individuals who are very prominently present in big cities. So they are very much sought after during this period. And initially, these Indian, people who would donate huge amounts of money would just talk about it that, oh, we have given so many millions to this party or this person's election fund. And they would never sort of expect anything back in return for the community or for the US-India relations. Now, after lots of rounds of discussions, including with me, I've told them that one of the things that we have to pitch for is for more Indian origin people to be on the teams of both these candidates, so that going ahead, there are even more Indians present prominently in both these, either of these administrations, whichever wins. Already in the
there
current
was Vivek
administration also,
Ramaswamy, but he has withdrawn. We'll have to see if Donald Trump does become the president eventually, if he does pick him up as his vice president. Of course, that's a long way to go, but for now, it's Super Tuesday and a super battle that has come out in the United States. I'll have to wrap it up here. Ambassador Pradeep Kapur and Pathikrit, thank you very much to both you gentlemen for joining us tonight and sharing your perspective. Thank you. Namaskar.